Matthew, once a tax collector reviled by his people, who went on to write one of the most beloved books of the Bible and give his life for his faith. Let me tell you about Matthew, an apostle whose life was transformed from one of distrust to deep devotion, and whose legacy has shaped how millions understand faith. In the days when Jesus walked the earth, Matthew worked as a tax collector in the town of Capernaum. Tax collectors were widely hated in Jewish communities. They were seen as traitors, working for the Roman Empire to take money from their own people, often enriching themselves in the process. Matthew was no exception. He'd built a life around wealth and self-interest, keeping his distance from those who judged him. But everything changed when Jesus passed by his tax booth one day and called out, "Follow me." Without hesitation, Matthew left his desk, his money, and his old life behind, an act that shocked those who knew him. He even threw a great feast for Jesus and his disciples, inviting other tax collectors and outcasts, showing how radically his heart had been changed. As one of Jesus' closest followers, Matthew witnessed every miracle, every teaching, every moment of joy and sorrow. After Jesus' resurrection and ascension, he felt compelled to record what he'd seen and heard, and so he wrote the Gospel of Matthew, one of the 4 books that tell the story of Jesus' life. His writing was clear and direct, filled with parables and teachings that emphasized justice, compassion for the poor, and the importance of living out one's faith through action. He wanted to ensure that future generations would know not just what Jesus said, but how his message could transform lives. With his gospel in hand, Matthew set out to share its message far beyond his homeland. Tradition says he traveled through regions like Syria, Persia, and Ethiopia, preaching to people from all backgrounds, from farmers to kings. He built communities of believers, teaching them to care for the marginalized and to live with integrity. But his work soon brought him into conflict with those who held power. Roman authorities saw his message as a challenge to their rule, while some religious leaders resented how he welcomed outcasts and questioned long-held traditions. As opposition grew stronger, Matthew refused to be silenced. According to long-held accounts, he was eventually arrested in the land where he was ministering and condemned to death. He was killed by a halberd, a weapon with an axe blade and spear point, said to have been struck down as he was leading a gathering of believers in prayer. Witnesses spoke of how he faced his end with remarkable peace, telling those around him to hold fast to the words of Jesus, for they are the way to life. Even in his final moments, he spoke of hope, reminding his followers that death was not the end, but a doorway to eternal life with the one he'd followed so faithfully. Matthew's legacy endures to this day. His gospel remains one of the most widely read books in the world, and he is honored as a symbol of transformation, proof that no matter what path we've walked, we can turn to faith and make a difference in the lives of others.